You are listening to Rouge Radio, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
It's time to get the point as Rouge Radio is ready to kick off.
Ready!
The best football talk with the best in the business.
So what is the cost? You have 2 first-round picks this year because the Argonauts are dumb enough to trade for Drew Willie.
A few rookies.
We go directly to the on-field product. We welcome to the show the 20th overall pick in this past Sunday's CFL draft, DeAndre Wright of the Alouettes. DeAndre, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
And the occasional Hall of Famer.
Please welcome Doug Brown, who is one of the members of the current class of 2016 in the CFL Hall of Fame. Doug, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you guys for the kind words and for having me on the program.
Rouge Radio is on the air. Here's your hosts, Robert Dalton and Tony Allen.
Well, we are back. We missed a week. Did you guys miss us? Episode 453 of the Rouge Radio podcast, powered by the Canadian Football Podcast Network. My name is Robert Dalton, and as if you're tuning in live, you can actually see it. My Twitter handle at Rouge Dalts. And joining me, as always, Mr. Tony Allen, who, as you can see, is located on Twitter at Tony Rouge. Tony, it's a long time no see. How's it going?
Well, good to be back. Good.
It is good. Oh, I can see that you've got the Regina Wi-Fi. Oh, well, I mean Airbnb, but you still got the Regina Wi-Fi. But life in Regina doing well?
I'll shut down some Wi-Fi stuff here. I had my iPad on. Turn that off.
Okay, there we go. We got a great show. We've got obviously some big news coming out of the CFL this past week, and of course the playoff races. Like we were talking about, like throughout the first few months, that oh my God, this is going to be a boring. Like the games have been entertaining, but oh my God, this is going to be a boring year because teams are going to be mathematically limited. We are week 18. And mathematically, there are no teams eliminated until most likely until after this week. I mean, depending on how things go. So I mean, there's that. But my God, we've added a bucket list. We have something in common, Tony, because I got to meet the legend of Pence, Saskatchewan, on last Saturday, Mr. Dave Stadnick, and. I mean, unfortunately, Dave didn't have a good time at the football game on the Friday night beforehand, but it was a good times and wore my jorts.
There you go.
He liked me better than you. No, I'm joking. He didn't say that.
I would too.
Life in Regina. You're going home tomorrow?
Yeah. That probably wraps it up. And yeah, I was thinking. I've always made fun of Saskatchewan, obviously, from a football perspective. It's an easy target and it's all for fun. But I've basically called Saskatchewan home for the last 2 months, Regina, Saskatchewan, the last 2 months. And I really must say, this is not a city I would ever live in. It's just, no offense to the people that live here. You're better than me. I just don't think this is the city for me. But if you live here, God bless you. You are stronger than I am. You've got to be tough to live in this city. I'll say that.
I love you, but your city sucks. I like how you place that.
City. This is a rough city, man. It is rough. We switched Airbnbs because our work schedule switched, and man, it's a nice house right on a busy intersection. There's a car dealership across the street. We thought, wow, better than the neighborhood we were in. The last one was pretty sketchy. I'm not going to lie. Montague Street in Regina will haunt my dreams forever now. And we thought, wow, we classed it up. And guys, he takes his suitcase and his cooler, and he puts his cooler on top of the car, goes in, drops off his suitcase, comes back, cooler's gone.
Why would you do that?
He literally just pulls into the parking spot, takes out the cooler, nobody around, takes out the cooler, takes out the suitcase, brings the cooler, come in, suitcase, broad daylight, busy intersection, gone. I'm like, wow, you need to be of a tougher ilk to live in, and not just for the weather.
Let it be known that you said ilk, not elk, right? Like there's not, it's not Taylor Cornelius just hiding out there waiting for some alcohol in a cooler.
Yeah.
But hey, before we get on to the show to see what's trending, let's get to the weekly listeners who's listening to the Rouge Radio podcast. And for that, we'll get the little nice drum beat. We've got your Canada, United States, Switzerland, Australia, Germany, United Kingdom, Mexico, Bermuda, Israel, and India. We've outsourced some of our listeners to India. I'm joking. Top cities that are listening to our podcast. We got Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, St. Albert, Regina, Vancouver, Montreal, Quebec City, Burnaby, Victoria, Laval, and Orillia, Ontario. I don't know where Orillia is. I've never heard of it until now, but good to know.
That'll fall
got the
Toronto area, I think. I
believe.
Okay. Quote me. Someone will fix this. What I liked about that whole thing is after you said, "I'm just joking," there was literally a right in that music. So when you watch this back, listen for the I'm just joking. I'm not even joking. It's not even kind of.
I believe you.
It's not even kind of there, or maybe it's there. It is literally
Oh, geez.
Timestamp. The 7-minute mark-ish.
Okay. So we're not. I mean, usually this is around the same time where we go with the what's trending. I'm gonna go without the music here because we're going to talk about the playoffs, right? Because there's 3 things that we know. We know that Montreal, Toronto, Winnipeg, BC, and Calgary have clinched. That's how much we know. Placements has yet to be determined. And there's still 4 teams technically that can still clinch at any time. Guaranteed, Toronto has a home playoff date. Winnipeg has a home playoff game, but we just don't know where they're going to be. Are they going to be finished second or first, or are they going to be hosting the respective finals? We will probably have a good idea of who's going to clinch the playoffs after this week. A Winnipeg win and a BC loss will clinch Winnipeg its second straight Western Division title, where they'd host the Western Division from back-to-back years. A Saskatchewan win over Hamilton would all but seal, not mathematically, but they could all but seal their postseason adventure, which will eventually actually have to be going through the East. And a Edmonton loss with a Saskatchewan win, I believe that's what it is. Edmonton would be eliminated by the by postseason contention, or even a Saskatchewan win would do that. I took a gander. Some big news that came out of the CFL. In fact, before we get there, some big trades happening. Actually, there's only one trade that happened before the deadline. Nothing happened earlier today. Trade deadline was at 4:30 Central Standard Time, 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. Nothing that blew our socks off like the Zach Claros trade to Winnipeg 2 years ago, or sorry, 3 years ago. But Alden Darby heading back to Winnipeg in exchange for Cedric Wilcox II, defensive lineman prospect going back to Hamilton. Alden Darby, who was traded for Winnipeg did last year on our route to the back-to-back. So looks like they're going all in for a three-peat this year. Gotta say it's not looking favorable for other teams to knock them out. But again, that's why you play the games. Biggest news come out after the Saturday afternoon, after Friday night's doubleheader. Paul LaPolice fired after a dismal 6 and whatever losses, and his head coaching career record is not that much better. He's got one playoff victory to his name, and that was back in 2011 as a head coach for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers when they went to the Grey Cup, only to lose to the BC Lions. This has got to be it for Paul LaPolice as a head coach, does it not?
I think so. But trying to give him a permanent seat on the panel on TSN, and just maybe stop trying. I don't think it's for you, buddy.
It's definitely a he's definitely good as an offensive coordinator. Look what he did with Winnipeg's offense. But then I started thinking, is he really that great? He's a good offensive coordinator. But tell me that Buck Pierce hasn't actually been almost equal, but if not better. Granted, Paul LaPolice had been, it's funny. This is going to come off as paraphrasing and copying Josh from the Podsky Wee Wee podcast, but I did pay attention. I did listen to their podcast that came out today. He was sacked with Matt Nichols throughout the majority of his title as offensive coordinator in Winnipeg from 2016 to 2019. He only had 4 games with Zach Collaros. Buck Pierce has had almost 2 years with Zach Collaros, and I mean that speaks volumes to Zach Collaros, or maybe Buck Pierce is just a little bit better than Paul LaPolice. But first off, are you surprised that the move was made?
Not really. It hasn't. The bounce back hasn't been there for Ottawa, which I think everybody wanted it to be or thought it could be. There's a lot of big moves, though. Part of me is you can't, it was such an overhaul in Ottawa. How do you turn that all into success right away? And then a lot of it's, I mean, you're going to have to accidentally win some football games. Not to mention, you went out and got Jeremiah Masoli, which I think was one of the best offseason transactions in the entire league, much less for Ottawa. And it didn't help that you lost him, because I thought Masoli was really going to have such a positive impact on that football club, because I've said he was the better of the 2 quarterbacks in Hamilton, and I thought Hamilton made the wrong choice by getting rid of him. And I think it was unfair for Ottawa to have lost him and then try to have gone for the long run with Nick Arbuckle and whatever else they put out there. So it's a mix to me of unfortunate quarterback situation, but then on top, maybe just not the leadership and the coaching to at least look better with what he had than they did, because a lot of times they didn't even look better than what in the past. And I think at the end of the day, it probably is the right move, just because you should at least look better, look competitive. And on most nights, they just didn't even look competitive.
And a lot of people are going to point out to that the moment that Jeremiah Masoli went down, sealed Paul LaPolice's fate. I will be honest that the Ottawa didn't look. I mean, granted, the first couple of games they looked decent. It very well could have been 2-1, 3-0 instead of 0-3. And I'll admit that. But when then I started thinking, it was like, okay, well, he got saddled with Caleb Evans, then Nick Arbuckle. Then I remember that when he was with Winnipeg in 2010, they were competitive with Stephen freaking Giles. There's a name from the past, right? Stephen Giles was not a great quarterback, but in 2010, he was top 2 in efficiency passer rating. And that's under that Paul LaPolice offense. You know what? And you could say that, okay, well, he got saddled with the bad quarterbacking. It's much more than that. They took a knee they took a timeout to take a knee. Who does that? Before halftime. You call a timeout because you got something planned, not because you need to take a knee. You can take a knee at any time you want. You don't need to take it. You don't need to call a timeout for that. And it's clearly that, a lot of people will say, well, okay, well, he he was a scapegoat in Winnipeg. He clearly lost the room in Ottawa. That team, the coaches, the players, the leaders, none of them were on the same page. And not to be all cliche, but attitude reflects leadership, right? That if that leadership's not there because of the coaching, coaching's not putting the players to where they need to be. It all starts from the top. That's why the organization, like, you can have a bad player on a good team. You're probably not going to notice that bad player. But if you have a bad player on a bad team, you notice every one of them. And if you notice every one of them, chances are because you got held on to them way too long. And that falls on coaching sometimes. And what I like about what Ottawa's doing is that they tied the can to them early so they could figure out their stuff for the rest of the 2022 season. And they've got the entire offseason to figure that out. And, right now there's a lot of up and coming coordinators out there. I mean, there's Mark Killam from Calgary, Jordan McKismick's his name has been brought up out of nowhere from BC. Jason Shivers, defensive coordinator in Saskatchewan. Even the guys like Mark Washington and Hamilton. There's a lot of options, and of course, maybe Kahari Jones, could take over as head coaching after he got unceremoniously dumped from Montreal. Any early predictions who you want to see in Ottawa on the field?
No, nothing on the top of my head. I mean, I didn't have a lot of time to think about it either, other than seeing the news that he was gone. But no, I mean, it would be unfortunate if we just rehash another old quarterback or old coach from somewhere else. I think we're kind of running out of those. But what are you gonna do? Hey, maybe Scott Milanovic will pop up back at the Canadian Football League since leaving.
Well, you can always have what's his face, Mark Trestman, come back.
Yeah, that too. That didn't work out too well the last time we saw that. But I mean, the only thing is, I think you'll need a lot more if you pry Killam out of Calgary. That guy has been everyone's radar for probably the last 5 years, and he just doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to leave. Yeah. Happy where he is. He is everyone's top prospect, but he never leaves. And I wouldn't even put him on the list, despite the fact that he is a very big name out, but it's been floating around for so long. He's happy where he is. I don't think you're going to get him out of there.
And he's already got an undefeated record as head coach when he took over when Dickinson had the COVID. Let's go to the next segment.
Oh, my God. Number one. Seinfeld, you magnificent bastard.
Tony, we did not go through this as far as if you had one, but now would be a good time to bring one up. Who grabbed your attention for this week's Magnificent Bastard?
I don't know. Nobody. I didn't get to watch football. And I think I caught some of the BC game. I caught most of the Calgary. And after that, I missed Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, but I listened to some of it. And I think I just tuned into the Saskatchewan one right after Winnipeg had made it 14-something. But based on that sounded like it was like a lot of Winnipeg not being able to do much and then not being able to be stopped, or vice versa. Either Winnipeg started out like it couldn't do wrong and then went downhill, or started out downhill and looked like he couldn't do wrong. So I'm not sure how that one really worked out. So if you saw somebody, I will definitely concede the Magnificent Bastard to your selection.
I mean, I don't have one.
Okay.
I was kind of busy setting things up in the personal life, but I did catch the Bomber game.
Let's make Dave Stadnick the Magnificent Bastard again. Now that
Twice?
Yeah, now that he's run the Rouge Radio Gauntlet now.
Oh, okay. All right. Dave Stadnick, you magnificent bastard. who appreciated my jorts when I arrived at the McDonald's by outside the his hotel. But
Did you get a handmade pair of jorts? Like I got a
no. No, I guess I'm not.
Alright.
I'm yeah, but it was an interesting conversation that we had. We talked a lot about football, and so it was good times. Good times were had by all. Let's get to week 18 as we as you can tell by the bottom of the ticker, if you're watching this live, we are partnered with Sports Interaction, SIA.com/Rouge. Your first deposit will be matched, I believe, up to $100. Actually, that might not be accurate. It's been a while since I did this, but you'll get matched for your first deposit. And again, you're helping out a national. You're keeping it local. You're keeping it local by keeping your money with a Canadian company as well with a local podcast. All right, help us out. All right, we've got kids to feed, and I might have more kids out there. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just bantering just for the sake of bantering. Also brought to you by our good friends at manscaped.com. Enter the promo code Rouge at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Your balls will definitely thank you when you got the right tools with Manscaped. Tony, let's get to a Friday night football. Because, yeah, catch this out. Now, you've been on record as saying that Hamilton is a horrible team. You've been on record as saying that. Is Saskatchewan worse? Because Hamilton's got the home field spread. They are favored by 2.5 points. The over-under is set at 49. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, I believe, have lost 5 in a row. It feels like a different season when they started out the season 4-1. And then all of a sudden, they've lost 8 of their last 10. Their last 2 victories were against the Elks and the BC Lions without Nathan Rourke. That might tell you a little bit more about the Saskatchewan Roughriders than it does about other teams. Where do you see this one going? Does Hamilton cover the spread here?
I think they can, because Saskatchewan offensive line is so gross and easy to exploit. And even with Fajardo's ability to scramble, receivers just can't get open. So he's either got to do it all himself by running or throw it away, or he takes a lot of sacks. And I don't think Hamilton is a great football team, but they've looked strong. And I think they have the horses up front to really exploit an awful Saskatchewan offensive line. So if I'm betting with this one, I'm taking those points on for Hamilton.
Something that brought up to my attention when I was having coffee with Dave is, does Saskatchewan actually have like someone in management to keep track of their funds? Anthony Lanier is not on the 6-game list, but he hasn't played a game since, it's been a while. I want to say since the Labor Day Classic. Like it very well could have been after the Banjo Bowl. I could be wrong on that, but to me it says that, and he had the perfect point, is that it just seems that someone is not managing their assets correctly. As he's not making enough money, but every penny counts sometimes at this time. You got to put him on the 6 games so his pay does not count against the salary cap this year. I mean, it's just kind of it seems like someone is just like kind of forgot, like, oh, okay, we got these guys injured. Okay, this guy's a healthy scratch. Oh, and there's Anthony Lanier. Oh crap, we forgot about him again for the 5th week in a row. It just kind of like that just kind of speaks to the incompetence of the Riders coaching and management, does it not?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I just can't believe it. I'm going to go with you on that one here. I kind of agree that Hamilton covered, but, and it's something I also said, is even if Hamilton wins this game, I still think Saskatchewan clinches the playoffs is that it's going to be one of those things where just Hamilton just kind of bungles everything. They've got this home and home with Ottawa, and somehow I think Hamilton's going to screw that up. Like Saskatchewan may not even win another game for the rest of the year, but that won't matter because I think Hamilton is going to Hamilton it up. Like that's how bad Hamilton is. They may win this game, and I agree with every one of the points that you made. Their offensive line with the with the comeback of Dan Clark and Terrence Vaughn. I mean, there's same offensive line that they had last year, minus a couple of individuals. I don't think it really makes the look of difference. It's still not fixed. It's still not good. Cody's got the happy feet. All you have to do is rush three guys, and he's just freaked out. So with that being said, I agree with you, but Hamilton is not going to make the playoffs.
Here's another thing, like, start battling a cold here too. But anyways, for as bad as Hamilton is, how bad is this? At one point, it looked like the Elks were going to win 2 points back of the Riders. The team that hasn't won a football game at home in almost 200 days almost caught the Riders. So that's how bad Saskatchewan is too. Again, from a 4-1 start to almost getting caught by the Elks. And they have been an absolute gong show. And if they at one point it looked like they were going to beat the Alouettes and could be in a position to catch the Riders.
Yeah.
Like, this is a matchup of two god-awful football clubs.
Definitely not the game of the week that a lot of people are priming this up to be, but it should be one heck of a 3-hour gong show on Twitter if you like to go in there. The next game is the first half of a doubleheader. I got to ask you, Blue Jays clinched the postseason in Major League Baseball. I can't remember if it's game 1 or game 2. Will actually be at the same time as this game. You as a Blue Jay fan or as a CFL fan, what are you going to watch? Are you going to have like simulcast this or?
I'd probably watch. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to watch the Blue Jays.
Okay.
I'm going to watch the Blue Jays.
Well, the Toronto
Argos game. No, I'm probably going to watch the Blue Jays.
The Toronto Argonauts, again, they get the home favored spread here, favored by 1.5 points. The over-under is set at 48.5. BC is going to be without Lucky Whitehead for this particular game. Toronto is going to be without Shane Ray. Not a huge, big deal, but they're also going to be without Whit McManus, I believe, gone for the foreseeable future, if not for the year. That is going to be trouble. However, Toronto at home and BC on the road, coming off a win, which it was against Ottawa. I didn't see anything that said BC is still right there with the top tier. They're a good team. They're still well-rounded, but I've seen too many holes in this BC team that to me it's just amazing how awesome Nathan Rourke was. That you knew that these holes existed on this team, but because Nathan Rourke just beat the crap out of you in the first quarter, second quarter, it really changed game planning for the opposition against BC's defense. That you play right into their strength. I got your cold via video cast, so to me, it's just going to be like, okay, who's going to miss their stars, their guys worst? And I honestly think BC or Toronto's going to miss their guys a little bit more. BC still has a tremendous receiving core, even without Brian Burnham, without Lucky Whitehead. You still got Keon Hatcher. You still got Dominic Rhymes, Josh Pearson, and then there's another one, Javon Couture. These guys they're veterans, and they're good. And they're still, that offensive line in BC still not good, but I think with the lack of pressure in Toronto, that's going to be able to be brought. And with the BC defense, is still going to be able to put a little bit of pressure onto McLeod Bethel Thompson. I see BC covering the spread, but I'm going to take the under in this one. I don't think this is going to be a heavily offensive game.
Yeah, I like Toronto in this one. After that kind of loss they took in Calgary last week. And Calgary, they turned it on. I got time to see Calgary step on the gas. And it's just, it's one of those, it's a Toronto Argonauts game to win. Home, after looking as dominated as they were at Calgary, it only makes sense that somehow Homer McLeod Thompson comes orchestrate something big. I don't think he puts up the points. I agree with your under, but I would be more inclined to take Toronto with the fifth of a point. The fifth, take it by a fifth.
Oh, yeah. I remember the last time that these two teams, well, not, I shouldn't say the last time, but one time in 2019 that BC was the better team, but they lost because, no, they won. They won because, oh man, who was it? Oh man, that name is gonna just drive me crazy. It was a missed field goal, but the returner caught it out of bounds in Toronto. And like that was BC's first win of the year, and I think they only won like 5 all year that year.
I remember exactly now.
Yeah, and I can't remember who it was, and I'm sure I'm going to Google it when we go on further. So we're on the opposite ends of the spectrum for whoever's going to win this game, but it doesn't matter to you because you're not going to watch it. So
unless Seattle starts to really beat up on the Blue Jays, then I'll switch over to the Argos.
I will tell you,
same start times.
You know what?
Because Major League Baseball will give Toronto the early game just so nobody in America has to know the Blue Jays exist. They always give the Blue Jays the crappiest playoff start time. So if the Argos play in the evening, then I can watch both because Major League Baseball will give the Blue Jays like an 11:05 opening pitch because that time sucks and they'll never have to worry about airing it and people not watching it.
Well, the Argo starts at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, so it'll be 4 o'clock Eastern Time.
Yeah, even that's pretty. The Blue Jays probably start at like noon.
Well, I'd have to pull up the Major League Baseball's 4:07 Eastern Time, I believe. That's that actually is, well, what is it? The 8th? No, yeah, so it's the 8th on Saturday. So yeah, 4:07 Eastern Time, so relatively the same time, like the exact same time. I'm going to be a heavy Argos fan that week because a BC loss and a Winnipeg win clinches first place for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who we are going to next. They host the Edmonton Elks, and this surprises me. 13-point favorites. The over set at 50.5. I'm confident Winnipeg will win this one. That 13 points is like SIA's way of saying, like, I dare you to take Edmonton on this one. I dare you, right? Like, does Edmonton cover? I mean, they're without Kenny Lawler, but even without Kenny Lawler, they got Dylan Mitchell, Kevin Brown at running back. But at the same time, Winnipeg's made some moves to bolster that defense. They've signed Keon Adams from Saskatchewan. They made the trade for Eldon Darby, and they got Desmond Lawrence earlier today to their practice roster. Winnipeg's a solid team, other than that weak side linebacker, which they just seem to, they seem to be dropping like flies, and their secondaries do as well. But they were able to bolster that up. Winnipeg just seems to be all-rounded team, which is kind of funny because last year they were all-rounded, but they were just missing that one key ingredient, which was the field goal kicker, which they got this year in Mark Liggio. but it still doesn't seem like Winnipeg is able to cover that 13-point spread. I'm relatively convinced myself that they'll win, but maybe by 10 points. Edmonton is just turning on, like not turning on enough to upset. They may even be like, they might be mathematically eliminated depending on what Saskatchewan does. But I honestly don't like Edmonton's chances, but I if I'm a betting man, which I am, I wouldn't be surprised to see Edmonton at least cover and take the over. Winnipeg, maybe this is like a 35-25 win by Winnipeg, which is good enough to take that over. Winnipeg's got the offense. Edmonton's defense, outside of Jake Sresna, really hasn't been impressive to me. But with Winnipeg, they've been very good at protecting the ball. And the connection between Collaros and Dembski in the last couple of months or last month has just been just too much to handle for certain teams. Like I said, if I had to predict the score, 35-25, Edmonton covers the spread and take that over.
Yeah, I don't know about like anything. I don't know what the guy calling this game. Like, listen, Winnipeg's going to win. I don't really have a doubt about it. I mean, that Lightning would have to strike twice for a team like Hamilton/Edmonton to beat Winnipeg. I don't see it. It's going to have to take some pretty heavy for Winnipeg to lose to that kind of football team again. But boy, 13 points. I don't know. That's a bit much for my blood. I'm not taking Winnipeg to cover a full 13 points, but I'm definitely taking Winnipeg to win. And I think once it's secure, I wouldn't even blame Winnipeg for taking the foot off the gas a little bit. But even with the scrambling crowd that I've seen out of Cornelius when I got to see him live, he can do some, but not enough to beat the Bombers. I don't know. Not much about this I like. I'm taking Winnipeg not to cover, and I'm probably taking the under as well.
Last game of the week is in Montreal. Thanksgiving Monday for our American listeners. That's in October. Yeah. The better Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
You got Thanksgiving plans?
The original Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Do you got Thanksgiving plans?
My oldest was born on Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
Born, and now his birthday's every Thanksgiving. So poor kid, put a birthday together, parties together. We have to do it the week before because everyone's at their families for Thanksgiving. So
yeah.
Thanksgiving, and it's my son's birthday. So my oldest's birthday, Thanksgiving. So a double reason to celebrate. And my favorite, the first time that I eat turkey, and if you don't eat turkey at Thanksgiving, you're
dead to me. You're dead to me.
Four life choices. You make 4 life choices.
All right, dark or white meat?
Doesn't matter. I love turkey.
Okay, I prefer dark. I prefer dark meat, but I'm with you. If you roast it right, if you cook it right, white meat could just be just as good. But yeah. I'm a dark guy. I'm a dark meat guy.
And I don't put jam on my turkey. Those people are just so.
Wait, people put jam on their turkey?
Yeah, cranberry jam.
Oh, okay. Like my wife she loves cranberry jam.
Yeah.
But like cranberry sauce, just like
jam
on its own. Like, well, whatever. But I don't think she mixes it up. She actually just mushes it and then eats it by itself. I've never met anybody actually puts it on their turkey. That's disgusting.
Right on the turkey. Turkey and
oh my.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Oh, I worked with a guy in radio. He makes sandwiches. He brings cranberry sandwiches.
Oh my God.
Jam on turkey. You know, to me it's jam. And you're putting jam on turkey. That's not normal. Normal people don't put jam on turkey. I'm sorry. I'll put applesauce on ham. I love some, but I don't put, and the cranberries are the only thing my kids like. But try this if you want something. I love Thanksgiving, but I love the Thanksgiving leftovers more because I make too much mashed potato because the next day I take a frying pan and I fry up the leftover mashed potatoes. Fried mashed potatoes are the great. Throw chunks of the turkey in there with it and then cover that with gravy. Fantastic. A good open-faced turkey sandwich with refried mashed potatoes. That's even better than a Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah. Now I'm hungry. I kind of want to get started on it now. Let's get to the actual game at hand. The Ottawa Redblacks, one game away from being eliminated mathematically from postseason contention. The Alouettes, I'm surprised by. We saw Winnipeg favored by 13 points. Montreal is only favored by 6.5. Is that the Trevor Harris effect?
Yeah, what's going on with that guy? Anyways.
Yeah. Over under is set at 47.5. Where do you see with this one?
This one, I like these numbers. I think you have Ottawa is at rock bottom. I think Ottawa is now officially rock bottom. They are ripe for the picking. And Montreal has a chance to just stick a dagger in the Ticats, look very good for the playoffs. If you want to convince me that Trevor Harris is anything, like if you want me to believe he can help in any way, shape, or form, Trevor Harris has to bury the Red Blacks here. There's no question. He doesn't get an out. He doesn't get excuses. This is, if Trevor Harris wants to prove he can be a Grey Cup quarterback or make Montreal a contender or be considered one of the best quarterbacks in the East, again, not hard when you're considering what your options are. But if he wants to be, honestly, let's call a spade here. Bethel McLeod-Thompson, I think, is the best quarterback in the East. And that's just again, that shouldn't be a sentence anyone in the whole world. But I think it's accurate. And if Trevor Harris wants to be in the conversation, he's got to just absolutely ruin the Red Blacks this weekend. It's the only way for me to take him serious heading into the postseason. And if he does, he's going to cover that spread, and he's going to just absolutely pound Ottawa into the ground.
My mind went into the gutter when you said Trevor Harris and the Owls are just going to absolutely pound.
Trust me.
And then it was like...
But I'm trying to make myself more presentable now that we're on YouTube. But trust me, I was going to say you're going to hump them into the ground. That's but a different word. Just dirt.
Did we talk about on the show how we're both sporting Quebec base? I mean, you got the CBC shirt. I've got the Quebec Nordiques old school hoodie. We're pro Montreal, I guess, this week. Well, I don't know what CBC is.
Probably right now because I'm wearing this shirt. I can't. My popularity, if it was ever good, it's not right now. I just classic CBC logo.
And we lost a couple of viewers.
Yeah, it was all of Western Canada. Now just turned us off.
Yeah, defund the CBC went to defund the Rouge. That's what's trending. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week's podcast. This is a good 44-minute talk, coming back, talking about everything, going through this game. Again, this we'll wrap it up. Episode 453, again, powered by the Canadian Football Podcast Network. As far as where you can find us on Twitter at Rouge Radio, myself at Rouge Daltz, Tony at Tony Rouge, and of course, the podcast can be found at Rouge Radio. You can find us on YouTube. I don't have the exact link available, but definitely if you actually look up New Rouge Radio, you can find all our particular content. Of course, like and subscribe to us on all podcast applications available. And of course, you can like and review our podcast through our Facebook page at facebook.com/Rouge Radio. Tony, any final thoughts before we end this?
Yes, accuse me of being biased, but I'd like to take trending right now. Right, I'm going to pick them as not just the white horse rides, but as the dark horse as well as we get closer to the playoffs.
And who is that?
Jake Mayer, the new mayor.
Yeah, the new mayor of. We forgot to talk about the potential. We'll talk about that next week on the podcast. The Bo Levi Mitchell rumors just came out of nowhere. But we'll talk more about that next week when we got some more games to talk about, and maybe go into memoriam about the Edmonton Elks and the Ottawa Redblacks once they're physically eliminated. Again, that'll do it for episode 453. My name is Robert Dalton, and that's Tony Allen. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.